Hello, hello. Welcome to English Extras. My name is Jean. If you're here, it's because you don't want to sound like a textbook. You're in the right place. This podcast is to help intermediate and advanced learners find alternatives to textbook English so you can express yourself more authentically. Let's begin. First, it's important to understand that textbooks aren't wrong per se. They're just extremely limited because it's hard to take all of spoken English and package it into a single textbook. It's much easier to give a bland example that can apply to many different situations. But as you're learning, it's important to learn multiple ways of saying something because this will help you express yourself more authentically. Today, we're going to talk about different ways to say hello and how are you? And as a little bonus, I'm also going to share with you some different ways to respond. This is the kind of thing you learn in the very beginning of any course or textbook. And you may be wondering, how many different ways could there possibly be to say hello? Your textbook teaches you to say hello. This isn't a bad way to start a conversation with someone. Hello is good for talking to strangers, talking on the phone, and it's even okay to say it to your friends. Hello is very useful for a lot of different situations. But what about other ways? Let's start with greeting friends. Number 1. To greet a friend, you can say, hey. Hey, Martin. Hey, Jessica. Hey, Evan. Now, remember, in English, tone is important. Changing the tone often changes the meaning. For example, we can also say, hey, to get someone's attention, like this. Hey. Hey, Martin. Hey, Jessica. Hey, Evan. We also say, hey, if someone does something that we don't like this. Hey. Hey, that hurt. Hey, I was going to say that. Hey is especially fun if you exaggerate it. For example, hey. Hey, Martin. Hey, Jessica. Number 2. You can also say hi. Hi is also okay in formal conversations, just like hello. I will often use hello and hi interchangeably when I have to call someone I don't know, like my doctor's office. For example, hi, my name is Jean. I'd like to make an appointment with the doctor, please. Number 3. Of course, you can always use good morning, good afternoon, and good evening instead. Good morning is a great way to greet someone. I personally like to use good morning because it sounds warm and friendly. You can also just say morning. Good morning, Jessica. Morning, Evan. Good afternoon is a little less common in my experience. When I hear good afternoon, it's usually in the context of a presentation and someone is talking to a large group of people in a formal setting. I personally don't use good afternoon as a greeting because it sounds too formal for my style. Good evening is also more formal, in my opinion. I usually hear good evening at restaurants at dinner time or on the nightly news. I personally don't say good evening to anyone because it sounds formal to me. I might shorten it to evening if I am talking to my friends. Good evening and welcome to the evening news. Good evening. My name is Jessica and I'll be your server. Now, what about talking to a group of people? Let's talk about it. For a work meeting, it sounds professional to say, hello, everyone, or perhaps, good morning, everyone. And you can say everyone or everybody. For a group of friends or an informal situation, you can say, hey, everyone, or hi, everybody. You can also say, hi, guys. Or if you are speaking to just women, you can say, hey, ladies. For me, because I am from the South, I would say, hey, y'all. But not everyone from the US would say this. While y'all is widely used to talk about multiple people, it is mostly used by speakers in the southeastern region of the US. Now, let's move on to how are you? Number 1, very often when native speakers are speaking quickly, words will get pushed together. So, how are you will probably sound more like, how are you? The emphasis is on you. How are you? Number 2, alternatively, the emphasis might change to are, and the you might change to y. So, how are you might sound more like, how are ya? How are ya? Now, I want you to keep in mind, in American culture, variations of how are you can often be used the same as hello. For example, if I go outside and see my neighbor, I can say, how are you? And my neighbor might answer, how's it going? I don't say, I'm fine. And my neighbor doesn't either. Both of these expressions, how are you and how's it going, can mean the same thing as hello, like this. Hey, Martin, how are you? Hey, Jean, how's it going? Number 3, you might have noticed that in my example, my neighbor says, how's it going? This is another way to say, how are you? If someone asks you, how's it going? You can answer by saying, good, thanks. How about you? Very often we use hey in front of this. We don't usually say, hello, how's it going? Because hello is a little more formal and how's it going is more informal. So, all together, it sounds like one word. Hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going? You can say this as a hello, or you might really want to know. Number 4, hey, how you doing? Notice that the grammar in this sentence is not exactly correct. This sentence is missing are. How are you doing? However, how you doing is a perfectly acceptable sentence in spoken American English. Again, the you changes to a y sound. Also, the ing at the end of doing changes to an in sound. Doin', doin'. So naturally, it sounds like, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? When I was at the grocery store yesterday, a store clerk said this to me. He said, hey, how you doing? And I answered, hey, how are you? Number 5, what's up? This expression is informal. Sometimes it can be the same as hello, and sometimes you really want to know the answer. So if someone says to you, "What's up?" you can answer, "Hey, what's up?" Or if you want to give more of an answer, you can say, "Nothing much." If your friend says, "What's up?" then it's okay to give more detail. Maybe you're having a bad day. To a friend, it's okay to answer honestly and say you're having a bad day. But if someone says, "What's up?" and you don't know them well, I recommend replying, "Nothing much. What's up with you?" Number 6. Maybe you haven't seen your friend in a while. Maybe you haven't seen them in a few days, a few weeks, a few months, or even a few years. In this case, you can say, "How have you been?" How have you been? How have you been? If someone asks you, "How have you been?" you can answer, "I've been good." Number 7. What have you been up to? This sentence may not make sense if you look at it word by word, so don't try to translate it directly. Instead, this sentence is like a whole word. What have you been up to? What have you been up to? What have you been up to? If someone asks you, "What have you been up to?" you can answer, "Nothing much." Or if you want to continue the conversation, you can answer honestly and tell the person about your life since the last time you saw them. Also, keep in mind that it's very natural to use several greetings at the same time. For example, when I see my family for the first time in a long time, I might say, "Hey, how's it going? What have you been up to?" Or if I finally talk to a friend after a long time, I can say, "How are you? How have you been?" For friends, I recommend, "How's it going?" and "What's up?" And if you really want to know how your friends are, you can ask, "How are you?" Now for a little bonus. There are different ways to answer when someone asks you, "How are you?" Your textbook says you should say, "I'm good, thanks, and you?" Let's explore some alternatives. Number 1. Different regions of the US will have different ways to answer this question. I'm from Kentucky, which is in the Midwest region of the US, but culturally, Kentucky is more like the South. One of my favorite ways to answer when someone asks me how I am is hanging in there. Hanging in there. Hanging in there. This is another example of a sentence you shouldn't translate directly. It probably won't make sense in your native language. But in English, it simply means that you might be having some difficulties in your life, but you're doing well in general. Number 2, another favorite of mine is can't complain. Can't complain. Can't complain. This is similar to hanging in there. Number 3, not bad. I think several other languages also use this phrase. In French, people say pas mal. In Chinese, people say bu zuo. Does your language use not bad to answer when someone asks you how you are? Let me know. Number 4, pretty good. Pretty good. You can say this when you're doing well. One final note before we finish. I've been an online English tutor since 2019, and sometimes when I say hello to a student and ask, "How are you?" they answer, "I'm happy." This answer isn't wrong. However, it isn't something we would typically say in English in this context. So, in general, I recommend not answering, "I'm happy," when someone asks you how you're doing. Instead, you can say, "I'm fantastic," or "I'm doing great." Thank you so much for joining me. Today, we talked about more natural ways to greet someone and ask them how they're doing. I also shared some ways to answer this question when someone asks you. If you have any questions, please send me a message on Instagram or my website. Take care, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.